All right, friends, it's time to give you loyal listeners a discount on protein powder. You may or may not know, but I launched my very first protein powder 2 years ago. It's a grass-fed beef isolate with only 3 ingredients: grass-fed beef, either organic cacao or organic vanilla, and organic monk fruit. Now, if you don't want any of the added flavor and sweeteners, you can also just get unflavored. And no matter what flavor you choose, you're getting over 23 grams of protein per scoop, which is going to keep you full and satisfied between meals. I love starting my day with a Fab4 smoothie and breaking my fast with that much protein. It makes a serious difference in my cravings and blood sugar balance the rest of the day, and I've seen it with my clients as well. Now, I never thought I'd own a product company, but when I got pregnant with Sebastian, I realized the majority of protein powders were chemically extracted or enzymatically extracted, and I wanted to use heat and water only. I wanted minimal ingredients because we don't need those emulsifiers, fillers, or added vitamins, minerals, and probiotics. All of those additions increase the chances that it's not going to work for your body, whether it be bloating, digestion issues. I just wanted pure, clean protein to keep you full and satisfied so you could build the most delicious Fab4 smoothie. And I have to say, I'm pretty proud of the flavor. If you take a look at our reviews on Amazon, you'll see 5-star reviews for flavor. And that is key, because if you don't love your Fab4 smoothie and you don't love drinking your protein powder, you're not going to do it. It won't become a habit, and it's consistency that outpaces everything. So if you're here and you're listening and you want to give our protein powder a try, use the code podcast5 for $5 off your order. And let me know if you love it. My favorite ways to apply this protein powder is in my Fab4 smoothie, making freezer fudge, making chocolate milk, making hot chocolate, and throwing the unflavored into all my kids' baked goods. So let me know how you use it. Let me know if you love it, and share this podcast deal with your friends. All right, friends, you may know my next guest from the wildly popular TV shows Laguna Beach and The Hills, but Lo Bosworth is so much more than that. She is the founder and CEO behind the females' first total body care company, Love Wellness, and she has been providing wellness information to the masses since the inception of this company. And I am just so excited to bring her on the show today to talk about her journey and what motivated her to start the company and share all of the information she has to share. So Lo, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks so much. How are you?
I'm good. It's so funny to think that, watching my sisters and I grew up watching you on TV. And then there was a time in LA where you were dating one of my friends and we actually got to hang out.
Yes, I know. It seems like so long ago. And I guess it was a while ago now. But it's been so exciting to see you pivot into a new career and have it totally blossom and take off. You have these amazing books and such a great following, and it's very inspiring.
Thanks. I feel like it's the same with you. I mean, so many times that I think people are afraid to change their career path, reinvent themselves, go back to school, start a company. And you've done the exact same thing. So why don't you talk about what motivated you to start Love Wellness and how did this transition happen for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll quickly sort of tell your listeners who might not be as familiar just what the brand is. So at Love Wellness, we make clean personal care for products. At Love Wellness, we make clean personal care products for women. And we also create a ton of really empowering education that's very body positive. The brand launched in October of 2016. So I'm going on my 4th year here now. And I started the company really out of personal need. In 2015 and 2016, I was not well. I was experiencing a lot of depression and anxiety, which was new for me. And I was dizzy all the time and fatigued and or sleeping all night. And I just wasn't myself. And I had never felt that way before. I sort of talk about you have a glass of water, and then if you fill it up too much, the water starts to kind of spill over. That's the experience I was feeling in my body. I was fine one day, and then all of a sudden I was not fine. I was totally out of whack. And part of that really affected my personal health. I was at the OBGYN constantly. I was getting infections all the time. Like nothing I was doing seemed to work for me for very long. And as a result, I was at the drugstore all of the time. And I was standing in the tampon aisle over and over again. And even in the vitamin aisle also. And I was looking at all of these products that legacy brands had put out onto the shelves and had been there for decades, that were invented a really long time ago by men, and that have been marketed as safe and effective for women for a really long time. And I was using these products and I wasn't getting any better. And in a lot of instances, I was getting worse, or they were irritating my body in some way. And I think that a lot of information has come out in the past couple of years about sort of like the chemical formulations in a lot of these products, and that they actually don't serve women's bodies very well. And so I was having that experience. And it wasn't until I started seeing more specialized doctors that pointed me towards different types of products that were more naturally derived that I actually got better. But a lot of the products I were using, were made by small companies. They didn't really have big platforms or brand messages or cohesive story. And I felt like I wanted to start talking about these things because they had really helped me, and put together a brand and a message that was different when it came to women's personal care. And this was back in 2016, remember? So, there were maybe one or two sort of standout companies in the space. I think that like Lola Tampons had started, and I think maybe Think had started at that point, and that was kind of it. And so I was really inspired by the category and just saw a huge opportunity, not only to really help women with products that are more naturally derived and actually work, but through really good education and information that comes from this wellness advisory board that we have of doctors, nutritionists, et cetera, all different kinds of experts. Because when it comes to women's bodies and personal care, I think we all know this, but there's tons of misinformation out there. And the misinformation has existed for so long that it's difficult to cut through the noise and with women's bodies and how to take care of your body, right? And along with the products that we put out into the world, we really advocate for that healthy lifestyle. It's about eating really well, because for us, food is medicine. At least that's our perspective on it. And I know that you share that. Sleep is really important. Exercise is really important. It's like the basic stuff that your doctor tells you to do. They're like, you take seriously, but if you actually really start to take it seriously, you feel a lot better. So it's a combination of sort of allowing yourself to have a different perspective on the types of products that you can use to take care of your body that are, I wouldn't say untraditional. They're traditional and kind of like the goals or the issues that you're trying to heal, but they're definitely new from like a formulation perspective. So it's about being able to change your perspective on how you take care of your body combined with like healthy lifestyle choices. And so in a nutshell, that is what Love Wellness is. We make products that range from gut health to women's personal care. And so at this point, we've really evolved into a total body care company.
That's awesome. So when you were first dealing with depression and anxiety and needing to see your OBGYN, what were from a women's health standpoint, what were some of the chronic things you were dealing with, and what products were you trying to get out there and disrupt with natural products?
Yeah, so I kept getting yeast infections, which for me was really, really frustrating. In fact, like when I was dating, like whenever I would have a new encounter with a guy and use a condom, like I'd get an infection afterwards. And a lot of women experience this. And I was getting UTIs. And so just in general, my doctors pointed out that I probably had a pretty serious gut health issue or imbalance. Because the gut is the home of the immune system. There's a gut-brain connection. There's a gut-vagina connection. We have these ecosystems of bacteria in our body that keep us healthy. And when those levels of bacteria are out of whack, you are much more susceptible to infection. When it comes to women's personal care in particular, your vagina has its own microbiome. All of the bacteria there create that acidic pH balance, and it's that acidic pH balance that protects you from getting infections ranging from like yeast infections, BD, etc. And so after a period of time, my doctors realized that I was suffering from really severe vitamin deficiencies, which is a genetic issue for me, but also kind of speaks to my diet and kind of being a woman living in this time period where we're eating processed foods all the time, where we're eating animals that have been treated with antibiotics. When we take antibiotics constantly, we take antacids, we take products like ibuprofen that really just wreak havoc on your gut and digestive system. And as more and more research comes out, we are learning just how essential and important gut health is to total body health. And so that was like some of the first really good guidance that I got from my doctors in terms of how to positively affect my entire body, right? From what I was going through emotionally and mentally to what I was dealing with physically, which ranged from like inflammation and bloating to yeast infections, like you name it, headaches, terrible vertigo, like you name a low-grade chronic symptom that is sort of hard to pinpoint, and I had it.
Right. It's interesting because, well, it's promising that your doctors were educating you on your vaginal microbiome and the dysbiosis that can happen there based on the food that you're eating. I think a lot of people are disconnected there, and a number of doctors are going to give you antifungals, antibacterials, antibiotics to take care of what they think is an overgrowth, which can cause chronic overgrowth when we are constantly stripping away the bacteria that would, keep balance in that area. Did it take you a while? Did it take you a while to find a doctor that could help you with that? Or like, what was your personal journey to getting to this place where you're finally, you're answering the question and helping a number of women that deal with this issue, which I have a number of clients that have this going on, and you're offering a solution. But what was your journey to health?
It took a really long time, and it took a lot of just trial and error. OBGYNs and nurse practitioners that just would write me a prescription like over and over again, and I would be in their office time and time again, and I'd be like, this keeps happening. Like, there has to be a better way. And it wasn't really until I started seeing specialists that were really willing to listen to me and really, I think, were understanding kind of like the difficulty that I was going through and seeing how persistent that I was being, that they kind of like took a step back and tried to reassess the situation in a more serious way. And so there was one OBGYN in particular that introduced me to boric acid suppositories. And it was the first time an OBGYN had ever brought anything like that up. And I didn't know what she was talking about at the time. And at that time, a couple of years ago, you could only get a boric acid suppository if a doctor prescribed it to you, or if you were like literally willing to make them yourself at home. And there was sort of this like underground group of women on the internet, on like Reddit and stuff, who were talking about this. But that information was really hard to find. And if you Google those types of products now, there's tons of information out there on it. And, they're safe, they're healthy, they've been used by women for decades. But I personally think that it kind of fell out of favor when Big Pharma stepped into the picture and started just making oral antifungals. But boric acid suppositories actually help women that have a type of yeast that is specifically resistant to those types of oral antifungals. And so, I don't know exactly the rate of the population that is having that particular kind of infection over another, but I do know that it took just a lot of persistence for doctors to actually like listen to my problems and really take them seriously. There's a statistic, because we just came out with a new ad campaign also that's called Don't Just Feel. And we basically tell the story of a woman having a problem and what she goes through, right? So like, you have a problem, you go to the internet, you call your mom, you call your doctor, you chug cranberry juice, you put garlic in your vagina, you eat yogurt, you like wrap your stomach in saran wrap to try to get rid of the bloating. And it's like, is this really how we have to deal with these low-grade chronic health issues? And to me, the answer was no, but it really required kind of a change in perspective and approach that I think combines the best of sort of like Western practices and ideas with Eastern practices and ideas, and just the idea that nutrition in and of itself is really, really important. I saw a fertility doctor actually a couple of weeks ago that was like, when it comes to fertility, combining East and West is best. And she's like a surgeon at CCRM. And so to be able to work with medical practitioners that sort of understand that there is a different way to do things than just, I've been to medical school, this is what I learned in the book, and this is the prescription I'm going to give you, is really a blessing. And it just requires more and more women to continue to see their doctors and talk about their experience.
Yeah, I definitely agree. When we come armed with our own information and education, whether that's from Dr. Google, our mom, or our best friend, it's putting doctors on their toes to really think about the whole person, the whole body, all the inputs, all the different levels of your hormones to, your bacteria strains growing and thriving on your body. It's really powerful. What other than suppositories, what other hero products really saved you when you were going through your chronic low-grade symptoms and infections?
Yeah, so I would say the boric acid was totally a game changer, and we sell that product now, and it is so popular. It's wildly popular. It's like the reviews are crazy. And I had the same reaction. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is an amazing product. Probiotics, specifically designed for women's bodies to support the vaginal tract and the urinary tract, totally changed my life as well. And we have a product like that that's called Good Go Probiotics. And so if you increase your good bacteria in that part of your body, like I said earlier, it helps to acidify your pH, which helps to prevent different types of infections, UTIs, yeast infections. We have an amazing urogynecologist, Dr. Shweta Pai, who's on our wellness advisory board. She's a urogynecologist, and I had a conversation with her about 2 years ago when we had already developed the probiotics. And she said, Lauren, these will also really help with urinary tract health. And I was so thrilled that I had that conversation with her because I was so focused on like vaginal tract health. I hadn't really thought about urinary tract health because I'm not somebody that gets a ton of UTIs, but a lot of women really do. Mm-hmm. And so just to be able to continue to get information from my mentors and resources to be able to continue to share that with our customer base has been really, really powerful. And then I think one of the third products that definitely changed a lot of just information that I personally held about legacy brands personal care products is our pH balancing cleanser. So this is a product that is for personal hygiene. It's for external use only, and it's made from natural ingredients, and it's pH balanced. And if you talk to doctors, they will say, yeah, don't use water down there, but they're talking about your vagina as in the internal organ. Like you should not be putting soap inside of you. That's pretty basic information, I think. But doctors will also say that like for the exterior parts of your body, like, yeah, you should be like cleaning those parts of your body. But traditional bar soap is really basic on the pH scale and has a pH of 8 to 10 typically. And when you use them in sensitive parts of your body, like they kill off all of your good bacteria. And so if you want to use a personal care product, it's important to use one that is specifically designed with women's biology in mind, that isn't, has crazy fragrances in it, et cetera, that can really irritate that part of your body and that skin and that microbiome that is there. So I would say just making like those 3 changes or looking at 3 products like that can be totally life-changing.
Yeah, no, I feel like having chronic UTIs or chronic yeast infections can really affect how you feel sexually and emotionally and affect your day-to-day life. So it's wonderful that you're attacking it from every angle. I'm curious how you changed your diet and how you were educated to change your diet for vaginal health.
So for me, it was about making the switch to real food instead of so much processed food. I've never eaten a ton of processed food. Like I live in New York City where I have access to a lot of really great food and produce. And before that, I was in California where the story was the same. But generally speaking, I was sort of coming out of my 20s and you're like getting drunk a lot and eating a lot of pizza, and you have no problem like opening a box of Cheez-Its at 4 o'clock in the morning and just going to town on them. And so for me, it was really just about cleaning up my diet and when I did that, when I started incorporating a much more plant-based diet as the foundation to how I was thinking about food and consuming food, that's really what was super, super helpful for me. And just making the decision to switch to cleaner sources of food. And that's everything from like where I'm sourcing meat and chicken and fish from to vegetables and fruit. And, I don't know if using all organic produce is really having a positive effect on my body, but I like to think that it is because I do feel better than I did a couple of years ago, right? I know that like the science on that is like still sort of out, but if there's a chance that by eating food that is made in a clean and responsible way is going to help me avoid illness in the long term, then like I'm happy to spend the extra $2 on the strawberries.
Just because something's organic doesn't mean it doesn't have organic pesticides. It has like plant-based
Sure.
pesticides on it. But the chances are, if you are going to the farmer's market and choosing an organic vendor, chances are they're not using pesticides, and you can have that conversation because the chemicals on our produce are affecting your microbiome all over your body in every way. So I definitely agree that lowering chemical intake in general is going to have a massive effect on protecting the microbiome because it isn't just about replenishing it, right? It's really about protecting the bugs that live on you that can outgrow the like aggressive yeast and candida type of bacteria and almost weed them out, if you will. I think that's a way more powerful way of taking good care of your microbiome, be it your gut, your skin, or your vaginal health. Versus trying to strip and, cleanse something away, which I think your cleanser is something that I'll definitely look into. Outside of food and really changing the way that you take care of your vaginal health, have you had any infections since starting this? And how do you normally deal with it now with your doctor?
Yeah. So, for me, my health is actually in a much better place than it was a couple years ago. And so I don't really deal with these issues anymore. But I will say that I do take our probiotic every day or almost every day. And I use our cleanser every day. And so I think for me, at this point, I've gotten my baseline health back to a pretty good place. And it's about the types of products that I use from a lifestyle and sort of like maintenance perspective now that really help me. But I would say that the one thing that does continue to affect my body system wide is stress and how I manage just stress in general. When I'm really stressed out, I lose weight, I get headaches, I feel anxious at night and when I wake up in the morning. And, it affects your body. And the reason is because when you are under so much stress, at some point the stress like spills over, you know what I mean? And it starts to affect your body in weird ways. Even in the past like year or so, because with work, like I am stressed with work, even though everything with work is going really well, it's challenging to run a business of this size and, have a team at the size that I do and need to raise money and do all of these things and continue to perform. And in the last year or so, like my faith, like figure out a better way to deal with your stress because your body is literally starting to do weird things because the level of stress in your body is so high. And so that is something that over the past couple of years, I have continued to struggle with. And it's something I'm still figuring it out. But I will say that when I am taking care of my body from a nutritional perspective and a lifestyle perspective, the stress is much more manageable. It's when I, don't take care of my body and go out at night and like don't sleep and do all of these things that it really flares up.
Yeah, that it can definitely take its toll. So what are you doing? Like, what does day in the life of you look like? How have you taken Love Wellness from where it was with inception to what it looks like today? Can you walk me through your entrepreneurial story in starting this brand?
Yeah.
It's obviously coming from such a place of love and a personal story. And I'd love for the entrepreneurs listening to hear how you've exploded this brand.
Absolutely. So I started the company, like I said, in October 2016, just in my living room, like, had support from doctors, mentors, etc. But really it was a one-woman show, like built my own Shopify website and just kind of started to talk about it. And at the beginning, people really gave me the side eye. They were like, what is this? Or what are you doing? And so it's definitely taken 4 years of plugging away at it every single day for our message to start to resonate, the message that there is an alternative way to think about your health. Like people just have had a single perspective on it for a really long time. Thankfully, that is changing. The entire culture around women's empowerment is changing, which is really exciting. So I started the company and I did it by myself for a while. And I was introduced to a partner in the business at the end of 2017. And he is like a marketing genius and really came in and helped me establish sort of best practices for the company. And from there, we were really off to the races. We just started with some basic advertising just to see if it would stick, if people were interested. And they really were. Like the early numbers from our advertising efforts are remarkable in terms of return on investment and conversion rates and average order values. And so we had some really good sort of baseline numbers to kind of go through to know that the business was a good business to be in. And from there, the team just started to grow because we were profitable, so I could afford to hire people. And from there, we really saw a big opportunity to step in as the new leader in the space. And so in order to do that, I needed to raise some initial capital. So first, thankfully, I was in a position where I could invest my own money into the business in the very beginning. I was creating a lot of content and I had some savings. And so I used all of my savings to start the business. And then last year, so I guess 2 years later, we raised our Series A round of financing. So we raised a small amount. We raised only $4 million. And now, we're set to raise money again at a Series B to continue to support the growth because at this point, the business is really well established. We have a really great customer base, but we have not been in front of very many people. I know that just by the same, and you can just go, just having them be a part of the community is really valuable to us and to them. And so it's really about education this year. It's about stopping misinformation. It's about spreading good information. And it's something that we are investing in really heavily. And then I think next year we'll come out with an app, like an app version of the whole experience. And we do have some new physical products in development, but I'm not allowed to spill the beans on them yet. But they're like widely asked for. It's like the products that we get requested the most that we don't have currently. And so I think everybody will be really excited when we do come out with these new products around summertime, I believe.
That's great. For all of our listeners out there who have an idea or have a problem that's inspired them to maybe create an answer for people, what advice do you have for them?
My advice would be to not live in fear and don't be afraid to literally cold call strangers to get the information you need to know if your idea is viable or not. I think a lot of people get paralyzed just by the idea of picking up a phone and calling a manufacturer or calling a stranger to get advice. And I think that people are so disconnected in 2020 that people would love to take your phone call. They would love to help you. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid to do the research and ask questions, and don't be afraid to feel dumb. Because if you have never started a business before, like, how do you know what to do? It's about figuring that out, right? And part of that is really uncomfortable, and it's about being just brave enough to do that.
So let's just back it up real quick. And do you remember when you picked up the phone to call a manufacturer? Do you remember those first steps?
Oh, yes. Clear as day.
So what did that day look like? And because I think that people forget, they're like, they just have these ideas that I'm going to start this big brand and it's going to be great, but it's not as glamorous as you think. And it literally is normally one person starting, just picking up.
For sure. Well, yeah. So when we started, we had products in a couple categories. So we had the personal hygiene products that were like cleansers and wipes. We had vitamins, and then we had the boric acid suppositories. So I needed 3 different types of manufacturers. So that pretty good pretty quickly at not being self-conscious about it or fearful, because I had to do so much research across different categories. And that's part of what makes Love Wellness really unique, is that we really offer like total body care instead of just one type of product. And I know that I definitely just relied on the internet, and I was just really thoughtful with my Google keyword searches, like natural vitamin manufacturer, and the information out there now in 2024 years later is way better than it was a couple years ago, because now there's tons of companies that are in the white label space that want to work with you and take your money. And that's like part of their business. But in 2015, 2016, that didn't exist as much. So I would say it's a lot easier to get started now. And a lot of these manufacturers are advertising as white labelers because they've realized that it's a cool business to be in, but that they need to advertise themselves as well. You know what I mean? If you're a manufacturer and you're just like on page 104 of the yellow pages, it's kind of hard to like let people know that you are in the business of being in business. And so I would definitely say that it's a lot easier now, and these companies get this type of outreach all the time. And so, like I said, just like don't be afraid, and don't be afraid to ask questions, even questions that you think are dumb, because these people are here to help you. They're here to be in business with you. They want you to be the next big thing. And so don't be afraid to rely on their expertise.
Definitely. What do you feel? Do you feel like when you were coming, or do you feel like when you first contacted them and had your ideas to build out your product line, were they asking you to make concessions or change your formulation, or did you have to fight for what you wanted? Okay, good.
No, not at all. And, I had very specific directives from, my own doctors of like, if you want it to be like this, it needs to be like this, you need to put this in it, et cetera. And so, thankfully, I was working with manufacturers that were really open to what I was doing. And most manufacturers are that way, I would say. I mean, you might get somebody stubborn who says, oh, I think you should just do it like this. But we don't actually white label our products. All of our products are proprietary, so all of our formulas are unique. But you can find a lot of manufacturers that do just make white label products. So by that, I mean they have something that they're already manufacturing, and then you can just decide to buy into that formula that is pre-existing and put your label on it. So a lot of like makeup is white labeled. A lot of skincare is white labeled. Like you wouldn't know it, but it is.
Right. It's so surprising, but I guess it makes sense because it's a really, it's a profitable business and people want to put their name on something and sell something of their own. What I think is so honorable and really true to who you are is that it was a real problem that you were dealing with. You found real solutions by scouring the internet and asking really hard questions to all of your doctors, and now you're able to pay it forward.
Yeah, it's really cool, right? I sometimes still pinch myself. I'm like, wow, people have this shared experience with me. I'm not the only one. And I think more than anything, that makes me feel good about what I'm doing every day, because I was really like uncomfortable and it felt desperate at times. And so I know what that experience is like, and women don't deserve to have to go through that when there are good solutions out there, alternatives,
Absolutely. I feel like you're just giving people an answer, which is great. So for people who want this answer, who are dealing with chronic vaginal health issues or microbiome dysbiosis in any place in their body, where can they find you? Where can they find Love Wellness, and how can they follow along?
So Love Wellness is available on our own website, which is lovewellness.com. You can also get it at pretty much every Ulta Beauty store now. We have our own Amazon store, but we're the only ones that sell on Amazon. So just make sure that you're on the Love Wellness page on Amazon if you choose to buy through that channel. And you can find us at Urban Outfitters as well. And then on Instagram, we are at Love Wellness.
Oh, it was such a pleasure to talk with you today, Lo. I'm so excited to share this information. I know it's something that a lot of women collectively deal with, and you are providing answers, and you're really providing wellness. So thanks for everything that you do, and thanks for spending your morning with me.
Thanks, Callie. You're the best.
All right. We'll talk soon, sister. And I will see you when I'm in New York next. Thank you for listening to Be Well by Kelly. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Learn more at bewellbykelly.com and follow me on Instagram at bewellbykelly. I would love if you picked up my books, Body Love and Body Love Every Day. They're sold on Amazon and at all major booksellers.